Recently, I watched someone experimenting with several AI models that he had trained in different ways. And some of it was really, really funny. One of the models had essentially been trained to be his girlfriend. He had even put her capabilities into a robot so that she could walk around, and then he took her on a date in public to like a coffee shop. But underneath all the humor, I noticed something interesting. Classification with truth, capability with worth, or ranking with reality. I remember that no instrument contains the whole. I read the living field. It is done. Right? We create measuring instruments and then we forget that we created them. And eventually we began treating their measurements as though they are reality itself. So I'll give you some examples. A school system might measure intelligence through certain kinds of academic performance. A workplace might measure value through productivity. A family might measure goodness through obedience or compliance. And a culture might measure success through money, status, achievement, or visibility. None of these measurements are necessarily meaningless, but they are measurements. They're not the whole entire field. Imagine walking into the desert and trying to rank the plants. A saguaro can store an extraordinary amount of water. An acatillo or acatillo can appear nearly dormant, like nearly dead, and then respond rapidly when rain arrives. Turns green, it gets these pretty little leaves all over it. Creosote can survive conditions that many other plants cannot survive. So, which one is the best plant? That question doesn't really make sense because before you can answer which one is the best, you have to decide what it is that you're measuring. Are you measuring water storage, speed of response, longevity, shade, size, beauty, resilience? The moment you choose the measurement, you have already influenced the answer. Humans do this with one another all the time. We create categories, we establish criteria, we measure people against those criteria. And then sometimes we make an enormous leap, and then we turn the measurement into worth. But intelligence does not establish worth. Productivity does not establish worth. Capability does not establish worth. And difference does not create hierarchy. And this is one reason I find some of these experiments with AI so interesting. We can actually watch humans give a system information, categories, assumptions, priorities, and rules, and then they become surprised by what comes back, as though the measuring instrument independently discovered the structure of reality. But perhaps AI is simply making something easier to see that the humans have already done. We build the instrument, we look through it, and then we forget that we're looking through an instrument. A measuring instrument can tell us something. Sometimes it's something very useful, but it cannot tell us the total value of what stands before it. A ruler or measuring stick can tell you how tall the saguaro is. It cannot tell you what the saguaro means to the desert. And perhaps maturity is not refusing measurement. Perhaps maturity is remembering what measurement is. A tool, a perspective, a particular way of looking, not the field itself. So, when something tells you who is the smartest, who is the most successful, who's the prettiest, who's the most valuable, who is ahead, who is behind, you might ask, what is being measured and who chose the measurement? And what disappears when I mistake that measurement for the whole? What happens?